Good morning, CLC. Thank you for being here, everyone who's in the room, everyone who's on the broadcast. Thank you for being a part of this service. We are happy you are here. We're happy to welcome you into August. Although here all it means is warmer, hotter temperatures. But that's okay. We're still happy to be here. So thank you all for coming, and thank you all for being a part of this. Now, with all of that, we are now at our inner healing time. I ask everyone just to take a few deep breaths. You may need to wiggle a little bit just to relax your body. Get yourself comfortable. Relax your mind. Put your day and week aside. Anything you have coming up, just let it go. Just for right now. Just release that just for a moment. And allow yourself to be here now. Universal love enfolds me. Universal wisdom inspires me. Universal spirit enlightens me. Universal power encircles me. I am one, and all is well. As we begin the inner healing process, let me invite you to relax in quiet confidence, opening yourself to the miracle-working higher power. Now symbolize the unity of your thinking and feeling nature by touching your chest with your right hand, and let my words act as your own for your own inner healing, acceptance, and receptivity. I acknowledge that there is a power, intelligence, and wisdom greater than my own. I am in the midst of it, and it is in the midst of me, sensitive and responsive to my every thought, word, action, and feeling. I now make this true for myself by saying aloud, I acknowledge. Acknowledging this higher power working through my life, I admit that I am personally responsible for solving my own problems, while being guided and assisted by something greater than myself. As I am ready to surrender the conflicts of my ego to the wisdom of the infinite presence, I simply speak these words: I surrender. Knowing that forgiveness is the key to unconditional love and the feeling of heaven, I now unconditionally forgive anyone and everyone who has ever injured me in any way, real or imagined. And I now forgive myself for all of my mistaken judgments and their resulting actions. From my deepest level of understanding, I now say, I forgive. Realizing that I continually experience the effects of my own thinking, I now choose to allow this higher power to recreate me deeply, filling my mind with thoughts that are only positive, constructive, loving, and beautiful. I call upon this divine inflow by stating aloud, I choose. I now center upon that one special idea that I'm willing to accept as real for me in this coming week. In visualizing the idea as already acted upon and brought to pass, in seeing my idea become a fact of my experience, I enjoy the happiness and peace of my thought fulfilled and gratefully speak these words: I accept. Knowing that I have an everlasting place in the midst of the power that sustains all creation, as well as the support of all those around me, I allow myself to relax in the peace of fulfillment and gratitude and say, I release. Now, in my mind's eye, I envision the presence of someone near and dear to me. This can be a friend, a family member, a teacher or mentor, someone who has touched my life in deep and loving ways. Someone who may not be physically present in the room this morning. I turn toward that image in my mind's eye and say, I'm grateful for the good in your life. Now I open my eyes, turn to the world around me, and joyfully speak to anyone physically present in the room or virtually on this broadcast, and share in gratitude and confidence in saying, I'm grateful for the good in your life.
No, I'm just kidding. Can you hear me all right? All right, good. So I don't think I'm on, man. Yeah. Am I on? You getting a reading? Okay. You're not getting anything? Okay. All right. Well, then I'm going to have to talk loud to you people today. How about that? So, archaeologists went to a certain country and they dug. Lisa's got her brow furrowed because she's an archaeologist. They went to a certain country and they dug way down and they found remnants of old pipes. And they said, wow, 1,000 years ago these people had indoor plumbing. They went to another area, unrelated, dug way down, found copper wiring. Said, wow, 1,000 years ago these people had electricity. They came to Texas. They dug way down. They found absolutely nothing. They said, wow, 1,000 years ago these people had wireless. I've been waiting to use that. Anyway, In Tune with the Infinite. In Tune with the Infinite is one of those books. This is by Ralph Waldo Trine, who, yes, sounds like Ralph Waldo Emerson. He was named for Emerson. And he was one of those individuals who was not affiliated with a sect or school or denomination, was an individual, independent spiritual teacher, and his kind of peak activity was in the first 2 decades of the 20th century. And he wrote a number of books, the best known of which is called In Tune with the Infinite. And as I put in the promo for this series, I promise you somebody in your family has had this back in the day, 2-3 generations ago. It was that popular, and it spoke across denominational lines. So, I mean, there are things in here that would stick in your craw if you had a certain belief in a deity that was distant and judging and all the rest of that, but you didn't have to be a Christian or a Jew or a Buddhist or a Hindu, or even necessarily a believer in the conventional sense of God, to have read this book and to have gotten something useful out of it. And one thing led to another, which is a long backstory I may give you later in the month. But what I realized was in 35 years of speaking and teaching, I've never done a series on this book. And so it's about time. I encourage you to read the book. I'll read a couple of passages to you. But today, we have a few in the bookstore, and you can buy it at your conventional booksellers. In Tune with the Infinite, Ralph Waldo Trine. And so last week the musicians and I were talking, and we were getting ready for the memorial service this afternoon and figuring out what we were going to do. And then I think it was Melody asked me, she said, "Oh, by the way, what's your topic next Sunday?" And I said, "It's the current of the divine sequence." And Melody and Jeffrey looked at each other and just kind of, I don't know what we're going to. So the current of the divine, allow me to explain. And your song was perfect for it, and whatever you got coming after me is going to be perfect for it too. But the current of the divine sequence. First of all, the divine sequence is the order in which things happen. That's what a sequence is. There's a particular order in which things occur. There's certain input given and certain output expected. And the sequence, as we understand it in metaphysics, is thought, desire, action. Thought, feeling, outcome. Thought, always the beginning point. Thought wrapped in feeling leads to action. Your action or the world's action back to you. Activity and response, both on the side of action. That's the sequence. Why this is emphasized in his work, Ernest Holmes' work, Emma Hopkins' work, pretty much everybody else's work who's written on metaphysics, is because in the world at large we have the sequence backward. We think that things occur, there's an action from the world to us, and then we're expected to react emotionally, and having done that, then we sit down and think about it. Whew, that was a close one. Things happen, you react, and then you recover. That's how most of us were taught to approach life. Or if we weren't actually like didactically taught that, that's the impression that we got, kind of on the fly, on the run, is how we deal with all of this. Metaphysics proposes turn that whole operation exactly around and start with first the thought of how you would have it be if it could be any way at all, and then get excited about that, feel that within yourself. That's desire. And the next thing you know, you'll move into action behind that desire, and the world will meet you halfway. The world will swing into action as well. You get a picture in mind of what you want to create in your life, you get excited about it, and it starts being made. It starts being formed and shaped and put together to meet you at the precise moment of your final towering acceptance of it. Where it's being made is in the unseen realm. And those of you who've been with us the last 3 or 4 weeks, you've heard me reference Dr. Deborah, who again is in the room with us this morning, and the cut line or baseline in her emails where she talks about there's a thread. He talks about a thread, a golden thread. He says there's a golden thread that runs through all the religions of the world. That thread is from the unseen into the seen. And it's in the unseen that our good starts being put together to finally emerge into the seen, into the felt, into the experience at the precise moment when we have completely internally accepted it. And until that moment arrives, it's being created behind the scenes, and we have the propensity to doubt because we can't sense it with the 5 senses. There's nothing there. I'm sitting there at the first part of the service looking at this screen that we put up. This is for a slide projection in the service to follow this one, where we're going to see pictures of the life of our beloved Dick Schmelzkopf. Okay? But right now there's nothing on there. And I could say, well, there can be nothing there because it's a blank screen. There's no good for me. There's no information for me. There's no inspiration for me. It's just a blank screen. Where are those pictures right now? Well, they're in the modern version of the unseen realm called the digital world. Okay? and some stuff is going to have to be hooked up to project them onto there. They began as, in this particular case, they began as physical photographs taken with a camera that used film. Most of you, I think, are still familiar with these. And back in the day, and so these pictures were, and they were scanned. They were scanned and digitized so that they can be projected up here. But you know what they started out as? Real life. They weren't pictures. They were a party, a birthday, something happening, a trip, a travel. You often see that in memorial slideshows, places the individual went and what they did when they got there. It started out as real life. But here I am, I'm looking at a big white blank screen. I'm saying there's nothing there. There's nothing there. Because right now, this morning, it takes my imagination to enter into the unseen. Sometimes the unseen, it comes to meet you. Sometimes surprisingly, it appears. Then you have the connection. And you say, oh yeah, I know him. I remember that. Maybe you were on one of these excursions, because I'm sure there are pictures from here, from Creative Life. They were with us 15, he was with us 15 years. They had a lot of good times here. There are probably pictures up there. I hope so, because I'm going to talk about him quite a bit, the adventures that he had here, and I hope there's something to illustrate, you know. Well, you can liken this thing, and many have, to the projection screen in mind, on which you throw images. But you can doubt your capacity to do this. Say, right now, we even have an expression for this. I'm drawing a blank. Right? I'm drawing a blank. Writer's block. Artist's block. I was reading something really profound about writer's block the other day, and it says it's not that you're at a loss for words. You're not sitting there trying to find just the right word. You're at a loss for a theme. You don't know what you want to say, what you want to communicate, the point you want to make. It says, get clear on the point you want to make, and the words will fill themselves in. Get clear on the feeling, in other words, in your life, that you want to feel, that you want to create, and the specific action steps in thought will fill themselves in. How would you like to feel about your life? What comfort would you like to have in your life? What assurance would you like to have in your life? He writes here in this book, it's like it's written today. He says here, the element of fear, 1893. The element of fear seems to be gripping an ever-increasing number of minds of late. Recent events and occurrences familiar to us all supply the answer to the question why. Like I brought up last week, you know, you look back, people say, oh, in this time, you know, it's a time of terrible trouble, and it's a time, and you look and you see, and it's 1922, or it's 1947, or it's and it's like, this is before my parents were born even, and we made it through this, but they're you know, alarmed about this time. What does that mean? It means people have always had the capacity to be alarmed. I look at a number of you wearing masks. I wore mine. I took it off to speak, but I have mine. And Denise has asked at the memorial service that everyone, we will of course respect that. Okay? People will say, well, the great fear right now is of the COVID. I don't fear the COVID. I think the great fear right now is of each other. It's of each other. How do we heal that? That's what they feared in 1922 and 1947 and 1893. Was who are these people and what do they want? He speaks in here of recognizing one another as experiences that God is having in this world at this time by means of each of us. Where have we heard that before? And addressing the fear. I wear a mask so I don't have to be afraid of the COVID, you know? I lock my car so I don't have to be afraid that somebody's going to mistake it for their own and get into it and listen to my CDs. Because I still have CDs in the car, you know? I have insurance on various things in my life so that if something happens, or what they call an act of God, how crazy is that, an act of God? God says, I will flood your home. Not any God I believe in, but so if something happens that appears beyond my control, I have a fallback position. That's why they call it insurance. I have something else. It's not done in fear. Vaccinations aren't done in fear. It's like, oh my God, I've been vaccinated my whole life. I'm one of those people. There's a certain age that you get to. There's a dividing line I've determined in generations. One of people more or less my age and just slightly older. There's a major division that occurs. Those who remember howdy doody and those who don't. Okay? Because there was just a drop-off point in the culture where the howdy-doody generation became, if you were an American kid back in the day, became the Captain Kangaroo generation. And then, Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers, and all that came a little later, and that's like way young. There's another dividing point. You have a smallpox scar, smallpox vaccination scar. When you were a little kid, they gave you all kinds of shots. My pediatrician used to say, look at that fly on the wall, and I bought it every time. He's like, this Jennings kid, he's not too bright. But we get him in and out of here pretty quick. And I'm like, what? Boom. The smallpox vaccination, they hacked away at you. Well, that's how I remember it anyway. And it's a little round thing, and it looks eerily like an actual smallpox scar, so they say. Well, I was vaccinated, and then we traveled some when I was a kid, and we went some what you'd think of as relatively exotic places, and so I got lots and lots more. So it's like, no problem, bring it on. I realize some people have a resistance to it for one reason or another, but the point of the whole thing is we don't have to live in fear, and we absolutely don't have to live in opposition. We absolutely don't have to. I respect your right. That there's an old saying that says, your right to swing your fist ends at my nose. Okay, I respect your right to do what you do, and you respect my right to disengage from you if certain lines get crossed. And this is not new. This is not new behavior. This is how life gets negotiated and how the process of life moves along. So I tell you all of that to say, to live in a place of choice is not to live in a place of fear. It is to live in a place of astonishment, wonder, awe, and a certain amount of fear, a certain amount of trepidation, because you don't know what's coming next. As I'm going to say in my remarks in the service to follow, Dick Schmelzkopf did not believe in death. I don't believe in death either, but he did believe in change. And he changed a lot, and we all change a lot, and everybody believes in that if you're around for any length of time. And there's a little bit of nervousness about that because you don't know exactly what's going to come next. Even when you do your metaphysical work and you treat and you meditate and all of this, you don't know where your good's coming from. Famously, some spiritual teacher was asked by a student, where is my good coming from? And the teacher answered, it's coming from wherever it is now. I don't know, but it's coming. And it's coming often from the direction you least expect. From people you don't expect to have your good or your answer or your truth or your next step or your provocation or what have you, including people that you've gone to repeatedly for that and they've never had it. Now all of a sudden they do. Or you go back to the place where you were let down, where you were disappointed, things didn't work out, and now suddenly there's a change there. I remember years ago a woman called me up and she said, I need a job. She was from the Midwest. And she said, I've been laid off from my job and I need a new job. Will you treat? She told me a little bit about everything, and so I said, sure, and I did. And she called me a few weeks later, and she said, well, the strangest thing happened. She said, when I lost my job, the factory closed down. The factory closed down. Basically, the industry went away in town, and this has happened, various places, and they picked up and left. And so I went here, and I went here, and I got referred there and there. And you know what happened? They decided to open the factory back up. And I went right back to what I was doing, which was the last thing I had expected to do, but I really did enjoy it. And there was a twist in that story that I don't exactly remember, but it was like they didn't come looking for her to tell her it had opened back up. She kind of found out about it in a roundabout way, that opportunity was back there for her. Like they launched the ad somewhere else. And she came across it. Well, so there are places where you've looked. How often do you do this at home, too? You say, I've already looked there for my car keys. Right? Look there again. The two, what is it? The two series. What you want is hanging in the hall closet. This is what one spouse says to another. What you want is hanging in the hall closet. And the sequel to what you want is hanging in the hall closet. Look there again. Look there again. When you look again, you might be surprised. And you know what all of us are doing? We're looking again at God. So a lot of us looked away. A lot of us blinked. A lot of us didn't like what we saw. Here was this big, angry, threatening, patriarchal presence who was damning and condemning, except when he was rewarding and plucking people out of certain circumstances for reasons we didn't understand. And a lot of us said, I want none of that. I want dependability. I want loyalty. I want loyalty in people. You think I don't want it in God? You know, I want a dependable, trustworthy presence that if I step out of line isn't going to smite me. It's going to sit me down and say, look, we need to talk. You stepped out of line. You made some choices here. This is da-da-da. Like a friend would, like a family member would. I don't want an abusive relationship with the creator of everything. So we looked away. And now we're looking back. We're saying, wait, there's a different reality that's possible. Let me tell you what he says about this and see what you think. So having said that the element of fear seems to be gripping us, and now we've decided what we're going to do about that, he says, there is perhaps no quality that more people stand in need of and right down in their hearts eagerly long for than the element of courage. Courage to me is nothing more or less than a positive, creative, building type of thought that not only keeps us going, but all the time works out and actualizes the conditions along the lines that we are going. Thoughts are forces. Like creates like, and like attracts like. Thoughts of strength engender strength within and attract it from without. Thoughts of weakness actualize weakness within and attract it from without. Courage begets success. Fear begets failure. The law is absolute, that the life always and inevitably follows the thought. There is a power, the energy of life itself, that responds to intrepid thought, the power that moves and that holds the stars in their courses, illumines, sustains, and fights for the brave and the upright. Courage has power and magic in it. To ally ourselves with it through the channel of the mind is the secret of all real and satisfactory living. Isn't that great? Wouldn't you like real and satisfactory living? And that line, courage has power and magic, and it comes from Goethe, the great German philosopher. There is a sequence from the unseen into the seen. There's a thread. There's a golden thread. You're in this room or watching today because you felt it. I'm busy explaining it, filling the air with sound. Others at this hour are doing the same from centers like ours, similar to ours, all saying the same thing. But I can't make you feel it. Nor, once having felt it, can I talk you off it. No one can. When you feel this golden thread, when you feel this unseen energy passing through your life, you have what you need. Will everything be easy from then on? It'll be easier. Will you be richer than your wildest dreams and a friend of everyone and famous and powerful and all that?
I can't say, but you'll have a better shot at it than when buffeted about by bits of information that don't last, that don't commit. Say, well, you had your chance. You blew that opportunity. You felt you weren't enough. This power never leaves you. And the last point for the morning, we'll dwell on just a little bit. I really enjoyed when Danielle gave me hand signals for time in a talk I gave recently. That was really good. Do you remember when you did that? And she said 5 minutes, and I just ended. So it was a real short talk. So I thought, let's play on the safe side, because I get going, I don't know when 5 minutes passes. But I got this one more point for you. The point he makes in the book. You have heard, and I have heard, that everything was created by God, right? There's the whole Genesis story. Actually, there are two Genesis stories. All kinds of the Epic of Gilgamesh, all kinds of, you can now get at Hobby Lobby, I understand. Anyway, there are all kinds of stories that are told about how it all came to be. Like here it is. Like the scenery all got moved in. The world was created. And you know that before you got here, a lot of work was done, right? Much was accomplished before you were born. They had cars, and they had this, and if you're young enough, they had the whole internet and all of this stuff. So a lot of people were busy creating things. And you come in here and you say, whoa, it's all created. And it's very easy in that mindset to fall back into the reactive state where all I have to do is deal with what's created. But the point that Trine makes, and others make on this, is that it's still being created. God did not just create the earth. God is creating the earth. God did not just create people. God is creating people. The first cause is still causing. And this is something, in fact, that we talk about, or I talk about every Christmas, when we celebrate the divine incarnation, metaphorically represented by the birth of the Christ child. That it wasn't just, boom, there he is in the world. Boom, there's the Christ. Now, deal with it, react to it. Adore him, don't adore him, believe in him, worship him, don't, whatever you want to do. No, it's, as Eckhart said, if this happened all those centuries ago, and is not happening in my time, and in my heart and in my culture, of what use is it to me? So the moment is always now of fertile and complete creativity. It is so easy to look back and say the best days are past. It's so easy to say, well, the best. There was a wonderful poem. I'll tell you what, I'll bring it in next week. I won't try to do it from memory now because I hadn't planned to, but I'll bring it in. I think it's Burton Braley, where he talks about the best work hasn't been done. Have you ever heard that? It's one of those real kind of, inspiring sort of Depression era kind of things. Faint-hearted, you stand there and you say, oh, it's all been done. It's all been done. And all I have here is kind of the echo of the past. No. The best work is yet to be. Spirit is coming into form by means of you. Great new things are occurring by means of you. To be in tune with the infinite requires, this is the assignment for today, if you will, the one thing to take away with you, take home from this talk, is a belief in an unseen realm from which all seen things occur. By seen, I don't mean just the visual acuity, but all the senses, the sensed realm, the unsensed realm, the realm of the great mystery out of which your good is to come. Believe in it, believe in it, believe in it. Next week, I'll give you a little more on this regarding the divine ratio, the perfect proportion, the thing to which the ancients built their temples, this particular pleasing symmetrical view, which was to them an encoded reminder of the presence of divinity. It's really fun to be conscious that way, to set yourself little reminders that only you and sort of the initiated understand as to how these things work. The sequence of musical notes, or the number of chairs in this room and how they're arranged, or any of the rest of this. Or as we've talked about, these amazing symbols on the walls representing world spiritual traditions. For this week, believe in the unseen power of life seeking expression through you in a new, unfettered, unpredictable, sometimes wild and crazy way of being that is absolutely perfectly suited to the needs at hand, yours and everyone else's in your circle. Believe in that, and you will kickstart that power in yourself. And you'll become a hybrid human. Okay? You have your little motor going, and you'll have your fuel, and they'll complement each other. You'll have the one body of power that's your opinion and your cleverness and your wisdom and your experience, and you'll have this other thing that puts you into overdrive, which is your connection with the infinite mind that made a tree, that made a cloud, that made an August day, that made an August day like today, the 1st of August, which, incidentally enough, is Latmus, or Lunasa. It's the day of the celebration of the first harvest in a part of the world. And you might say, well, in this part of the world, you can accept that, and you can celebrate that too. And where is the harvest? It looks all hot and stuff. Well, John barleycorn's being harvested right now. The wheat's being taken down because the wheat is fertile and ready to be used, you know. So let the mysteries of the ancients, let the unseen realm permeate, that's the word, permeate your week. This week going forward, there is a power. Let's talk about it now at a different level. There is one life, there is one power, there is one presence. This one is pure spirit, this one is mysterious, this one is awesome. And this one is informing me now, my thoughts, my desires, my conditions. I am more than I've seen, certainly more than I've ever been before, and I am uniquely poised for this moment. Everything that's occurred before has prepared me for now and for this next step that I am to take, even if that step appears to be out into thin air. There is that which will support me and conduct me forward. And I will proceed in my life in joy and thanksgiving and great good humor. There is nothing to need or not or hide from or fear. And as I engage in this process, I'm surrounded by beautiful, supportive godlings, just like me, only different, who have their own perspective on things, but who perfectly complement that which I am and what I am about. I relax into this. I trust in this. I trust in the power of all creation to keep busy creating and doing what it does and has done for eternity, for this knowing and its manifestation in form, and how it all comes to fruition in my life, and how I just bask in the glow of this beautiful experience that I've accepted for myself. I am so deeply grateful. I release this word now into the infinite, calling it done, and so it is. Once again, here's some music.
As we come to giving time, I just want to thank each and every one of you for being here. Whether you're here in the room or on this broadcast, it is your presence that inspires us and makes us want to be here to provide this message for you. It is your donations that allow us to be in this building, keep the lights on, keep the water running, and to continue to be here for you. So no matter what you give, how big or how small, we are very grateful for it, and we will use it to the best of our ability to continue to provide this message, this service, and this inspiration to and for you. And so with that, I invite you now to say with me, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. I am prosperous now, and so it is. And now, more music.
All right. So I do a daily reading, and I do this right now. I'm using the book 365 Days of Richer Living. Thank you, John Rennie. He suggested it, and I'm really enjoying it. And today, August 1st, the title was, I am cause, I have effect. Yeah, so I was like listening to Jesse going, well, I got this lesson already this morning, so clearly there's still more for me to learn. But in that reading, one of the things that he said, and I'm not going to quote it right, but I'm going to get close, is that we are spirit coming into form under freedom. So I want you to keep that in mind. Because one of the things that I ask you this morning is, are you willing to go look in your own eyes in the mirror and declare yourself first cause? And if not, why not? So that's where I'm at this morning. I am first cause. You are first cause. Because we are children of God. So in the knowing of that, there is one life, one power, one presence, one love. And in that love, I am. The most powerful words you can speak follow, I am. So I am cause. That means I create my world. I create my heaven. Just as I know that each and every one of you create your world and create your heaven. I know that you are first cause. I know that you are beloved children of God. I know that that love that makes up absolutely everything flows through each and every one of us out into this world. All of that which is currently being created in the unseen by us, for us, is just waiting for that final yes. And so I know that yes. I feel that yes. I resonate with that yes. And I resonate with that yes for you and with you. And I am grateful to know that yes. I am grateful to know that spirit. I am grateful to be that divine spark. And I am grateful to use that divine mind and to use that Christ consciousness and know that each and every one of us have access to that. I am also grateful for this place where we come to learn this. I am grateful for these musicians. I am grateful for our senior minister. And I am grateful for you. And I release my word now, knowing that it is done, even as I speak these words. And so it is.
So it is.
Say with me now, something wonderful is happening through me.
Something wonderful is happening through me.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my
I
body.
feel it in my mind.
I feel it in my
I
mind.
feel it in everything I am.
I feel it in everything I am.
I choose it.
I choose
I
it.
trust it.
I trust
I
it.
use it.
I use
And
it.
I love it.
And I love it.
So it is.
And so it is.